Hi Sarah, it's really lovely to be in your studio here. You've been commissioned by the Royal Albert Memorial Museum and Art Gallery in Exeter to create new work for the exhibition Wild. Could you tell us about what you've created?
With a big natural history exhibition like Wild, I thought about it quite long and hard and went down several blind alleys, and I realised that we can't talk about what Wild is now without facing up to extinction. And I chose a particular moth, which is the garden tiger, Arctia caja. And a reason that I chose this as my subject was that the Arctia caja has declined 90%.
90%?
90%. Its numbers have crashed since our lifetime. This loss is directly because of climate change, and it's to do with their woolly bear caterpillars. They are emerging too soon in the warm winters and then suffering bacterial attack, rot,
So
death, predation.
Man-made climate change.
Man-made climate change. It's a generalist feeder. It's not loss of habitat or plants, which is so often the case. This is climate change.
You've worked with RAMM and you've been into the stores to look at our collection of moths.
Yeah, I was familiar with the collection. I had the enormous privilege of exploring the collection with Holly Morgan-Ross.
So this is one of the drawers of moths collected by Frank Lees. He moved to Maidencombe in Torquay in about 1940.
So not that far from here, really.
No, not really, just on the coast. So the particular one that you drew from is this one just down here. And you can't see it there, but the label says that it was collected on the 10th of July 1955. And I've been through his journals. And although he does his J's slightly strangely,
They're really strange.
there it is. This is the record for the garden tiger.
In Latin, so that's caja, Arctia caja. What I find extraordinary, Holly, I find it moving, it strikes me every time, is that these were collected in the 50s.
1950s.
The sheer abundance.
There, I think, are over 13,000 specimens in his collection. It is a very comprehensive collection of what you will find in Devon, as well as a few rarer ones from further afield.
I do feel incredibly fortunate to live in Devon with this. It's like a world-class collection, and yourself, your knowledge is so comprehensive. I just feel very, very lucky to be here and to have had the commission and to have even more reason to come back and work with these moths.
This particular species, is there something about its markings or beauty that attracted you?
You're making a piece of visual art, so it's got to work graphically.
Yeah.
And I was looking for something and thinking about it. And we thought about lots of different possibilities. Holly and I had good discussions about this. And I went for this one. It's very appealing, really. I was kind of questioning myself, do you want to do something this obvious? But I think I do.
You actually decided through the process of this commission to move away from the Mexican and instead do some large-scale drawings.
I did. I mean, drawing has always been part of my practice. Yeah. It's just that the Mezzotins have become what I've become known for. Yeah. I love drawing, and there is something deeply intimate and very direct about that process of looking at something and translating that with marks. The simplicity of their drawings are done in charcoal. It's very direct. It's just carbon on paper.
And there's something about charcoal as a material, isn't it? The way it can disappear very quickly, that it's so very fragile.
Absolutely. No, you're spot on. It's powdery. And when you look at these moths, these pin specimens in this case, they could disappear with it, but you're conscious that you don't want to breathe on them too much. It's a space, a bit more of reflection than absorbing of information. So I've made you 4 drawings. The first drawing is as honest and as true a kind of just, I'm looking at this moth, taking in as much of it as possible. The challenge was to then draw something disappearing. So I drew a second drawing and the third drawing where the moth is dissolving or dissipating into the darkness. The point of it was to make this 4th drawing, which is entirely black. There's a long tradition of the black page to stand for, I think, as Lawrence Stern said, a grief which is too much for words. So the black drawing is not only about the imminent absence of this moth, it's also my grief, your grief, our grief, for this an insane loss, huge loss.